Hello, mindful friends. Today we're going to take a mindful look at the Serenity prayer, which is a prayer that many of us bring into our healing journeys, wherever we're at in them. And it is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the ones that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. If any of you have actually tried to apply this to your life, you will understand how difficult it actually is and how much self-awareness and presence it takes to be able to use this in an effective manner. And where mindfulness can be applied to this teaching is in the most important part of it, which is that wisdom to know the difference. What can we control and change? What can't we control and change? And this is the most crucial part of this teaching, because if we don't know the difference, then we can never bring that serenity of acceptance to things that we're assuming we should be able to change, or we won't know the things that we can't change. And so if we're still assuming we should be trying to alter them, it's very hard to start cultivating that serenity of acceptance. And then on the other side, it's really hard to build up the volition and intention to change things if we are assuming they're things we have no control over within our own behavior, within our experience of the world. And so if we're not thinking we can change them, we won't be mustering up the courage and intention to do so. And what mindfulness does is give us the connection to that wisdom to help us understand the difference and to help us understand what approaches to both acceptance and to change will serve us best, will actually be aligned with our true intentions. And so when we're first examining, the wisdom to see what we can actually change, that comes from mindful awareness, that inner wisdom that we say we're cultivating with that deep observation and understanding. And that mindfulness shows us, as we're kind of observing the way that the world works, the way that we work within us, helps us to recognize what actually is within my control. What is it that I can actually change or alter or shift to have a better experience of life, or a more aligned experience of life? And in the teachings of mindfulness, we see that really what it comes down to, it's a painful reality for some of us, but the only thing we can actually control is within ourselves. Our perception of reality, how we relate to it, and how we respond to it. We own all of that. What we're cultivating within ourselves, what energies we're feeding and generating, and then what that in turn helps us to be able to share out with the world, and how that changes the way we show up in the world. So whenever we're looking out into the world, what do I have control over to change? Always think, is this something I can shift within my perspective, how I am relating to it, how I am responding? Anything else is not ours to manipulate or control. And we hate this, right? This is where we all get stuck with that serenity prayer, because we want to control the other people in our lives. We want to control the whole system of politics, the environment, the weather, the world, our dog, our children. We would love to have the power to control and manipulate all of these things so that they go exactly the way we want them to go. But in the wisdom of mindfulness, and in that wisdom that they're talking about in the Serenity prayer, the only things you really have control over is here in self, in your perspective, your way of relating, your way of responding. And when we start to see that, and we start building the kind of intention to work with those internal realities as much as we can, it does create shifts in the world around us, but not because we're spending all of our energy trying to make them change, trying to force them to be as we want. It shifts and changes because we are showing up for it differently. We are showing up for it in an intentional manner that aligns with our true values. And when we show up in that way and respond in a way that's intentional, other people and the world around us do change. It changes the way that it interacts together, that it fits together. And we do that by shifting our behavior and who we are, not by trying to force others to align with us. So in that serenity prayer, if you guys struggle with that, of accepting the things you cannot change, always ask yourself, is this something within me? Is this something I can shift in my response or behavior? And if it's not, accept. Shift into the serenity of acceptance. And that's, we all get stuck there, but you'll notice if this serenity prayer is hard, are you trying to change something outside of you, forcing somebody else or the environment or the world to change? And notice what that does to your peace and well-being. This is why the serenity prayer is so deep and why it exists. Because if you notice what happens when you're doing that and trying to control all of these things outside of you and your control, it creates agitation, frustration, anger, fighting, resistance, blame, judgment, division, all kinds of bad things, right? We're trying to manipulate people around us, and we can feel the tension it creates between us and the world. And when we experience that, why is it so important not to be in that? Well, notice who it turns you into, right? We start fighting with life. We are more frustrated. We are more anxious, depressed, because we're trying to control all these things not within our realm. So it says, what do you need to do then to shift? Well, accept that we can't start turning inward and focusing on our own healing if we have not accepted that yet. We're stuck in the fighting. So it says, accept that so that all of your attention isn't going outward to try to force all these outside things to do what you want. So accept that. Turn your focus back inwards and start empowering yourself to change what you can. Empower yourself with your resources, your skills, your mindfulness to see, oh, this is my perspective that I could shift. This is how I am relating to this situation that I could shift. And this is who I am being, how I am responding, that I can shift. And why they put courage in there is because it's freaking hard to admit what we need to shift within ourselves. It's easier, less vulnerable, less taxing, it's probably not true, less vulnerable to project it out onto the world, to try to force everyone else to change. You have to be very courageous to turn inward and say, what can I actually do within myself in this situation? And that is where the true healing begins, is when you see that, notice it's within yourself, empower yourself to start changing it by setting your intentions and your volition to do so, and how you will move forward in that. So I invite you this week, use your mindfulness to start understanding the difference between what you can't control and what you can. And then noticing how to move and use acceptance to start building awareness and the intention and the courage to start working with what you can change. If you enjoy these teachings and would like to join us for group sessions or individual coaching, you can visit us at newleafmindfulness.com. You can find these teachings and many more in my book, Living from the Heart, Healing Ourselves so we can heal the world. It's anywhere you can buy an audio or print book. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I hope to see you all very soon.